In March 2006, at her residence in Auvers-sur-Oise, Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, President-elect of the Iranian Resistance, told a delegation of British parliamentarians and lawyers that extensive anti-regime protests in Iran demonstrate growing support for democratic change. Mrs. Rajavi said, "The Iranian resistance can bring about democratic change in Iran. We offer a secular government based on democratic principles which respects human rights." She added, "The policy of appeasement adopted over 2 decades towards the Iranian regime has emboldened the mullahs in their violent suppression of the Iranian people and has acted as the greatest impediment to democratic change."
Let me say it again, that we are asking no foreign government for money or arms. The Iranian resistance has the potentials to bring about democratic change in Iran. But for years, much of its energy, time, and resources have been spent on battling the consequences on the policy of appeasement by the West. The time has come for the UK government to listen to the voice of parliaments and deprescribe the PMOI.
Lord Corbett said, "Trying to appease the mullahs has not worked. It has simply helped to keep a repressive and brutal regime in power. We support Mrs. Rajavi's view that neither military force nor appeasement is the answer to the threat posed by the Iranian regime. Instead, democratic change can be achieved through the Iranian people and their resistance." The unjustified labeling of the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran as a terrorist organization deprives the people of Iran and the world community of a supporter of peace efforts in the Middle East and a vital ally in the efforts to prevent the mullahs from developing nuclear weapons, thereby avoiding turmoil in the region. It was the PMOI who first disclosed the regime's clandestine nuclear weapons program.
I'm happy to say that the majority of backbench members of all parties in Parliament and about 155 members of the House of Lords, it's about 450 of us in all, support the growing demand for the lifting of the terrorist prescription on the PMOI. It was never justified in the first place. It is even less justified now in the light of what we now know about what is really going on in Iran. And it is our view that the Iranian resistance are allies in the struggle to offer democracy, human rights and freedom to the people of Iran. The real terrorists are those who act as terrorism's central bankers seated in Tehran.
The delegation recognized the role played by the PMOI in advancing the democratic political process in Iraq and exposing the terrorist and fundamentalist meddling of the Iranian regime in that country. They also stressed the right of political asylum for PMOI personnel in Ashraf City.
The solution is to support the third option, which has been preferred by Madam Rajavi. And her solution, of course, is the bringing about of democratic change in Iran through the Iranian people and their resistance.
When one considers that and contrasts it with the fact that the NCRI has long been committed to democracy, to human rights, notably equal rights between men and women, how the democracies of Europe can fail to support the NCRI really beggars belief. One cannot understand it.
Lord Corbett added, "It's time that our government and others in the EU recognize the realities and welcome the Iranian resistance as friends in a common effort to restore democracy and human rights, which the mullahs have stolen from the people of Iran."
So the West and the international community should now recognize that the best chance to build a free and democratic and secular Iran based on equality for all is the PMOI. and that this process needs to be started by removing the PMOI from the terror list in the United Kingdom, in the EU, in the United States. As we've heard, the Foreign Secretary has admitted that the PMOI is on the list for one reason and one reason only, not because of anything which it has done in the United Kingdom or in the West, but solely because the mullahs asked the United Kingdom to put the PMOI on the list. And as Lord Russell Johnson has said, the PMI should not be used, and the terror tag, with all that that entails, should not be used as a bargaining chip in the appeasement process.
If one wants to promote human rights and a return to the rule of law in Iran, and if one wants to promote democratic change, then the only conceivable basis for doing so in the long term is to allow all the democratic forces, both within Iran and outside of Iran, within civil society, to be able to freely organise and put forward the case for democratic reform. And that can only really truly begin if we get rid of this monstrous prescription regime that is so subject to the vagaries of political judgment. It's time that the West, I think, took a stand on principle, and that stand should begin within the High Court of Justice in Britain. Thank you.
But I do think that it's now time that the West, and particularly the United Kingdom government, should both acknowledge that and reward it. And the way they can acknowledge it is, in my view, to lift the terror tag against the PMOI, which, as Lord Corbett has already indicated, we think was never justified in the first place, but should be lifted now for two important reasons. One is simply out of justice, and secondly, because it would be good politics to lift it. Lifting it would send a quite definite signal to the regime in Tehran that there's a change, a sea change of attitudes in the United Kingdom and the European Union. In my view, we could begin the reverse of that trend if we were to do justice to the PMOI.